Hey everyone, it's Laura. I wanted to show you something that I've been working on, which is embellishments using tissue paper. And they're pretty easy to make, and it may not be something that you have thought of, but I love using tissue paper for my embellishments because I think it adds a very soft, whimsical feel to my projects. So I have a couple of different styles to show you. I have some butterflies, and you can go super simple like this one here. That's just a large butterfly shape, and I used the Kiwi template from Nature for that. You don't have to use Kiwi templates, you can just use stencils or any kind of die cut shape. I used a punched cardstock flower for some of the smaller flowers over here, like this part here. I just used this and layered it. And then for these hearts, I used a large pink die cut that came from my stash and just traced it and layered them there. As you can see, this one has kind of an ombre layering to it. And you can do it like this, where you can't really see a lot of the ombre, or you can do it like this, or like this, layering it in between so you can see the different colors. I use for the centers either rhinestones or Nuvo drops or stickles, and I like that it adds just a little bit of shine, a little bit of glam to my embellishments, makes them feel more complete. So these are a couple of the ones that I've used for these. I've used the Nature butterfly, the Tiny Accents flower. I used both the skinny flower and the thicker flower, and then the Tiny Nature butterfly. Like I showed you, this little punched piece here, and the die cut heart to make all of these. And they're all very different. I added some punched cardstock centers to some of them. These parts of the butterflies are the Martha Stewart butterflies, punched out. Use those punches to punch these out of cardstock. And yeah, it's a fun way to do it. So I'm going to give you just a quick tutorial. It's not hard, but I'll show you just a quick tutorial on this piece of tissue paper. I like to get my tissue paper from the dollar store or from Tuesday Morning. It's pretty inexpensive. So you're going to have to trace out your shape and then just cut it out. The more layers you use, the fluffier your final embellishment will be. For the butterflies, I like to do about 5 or 6 layers. For the flowers, I do a lot more because you're going to be layering them off-centered from each other, most likely. And it just gives it a little bit more depth. So I'm just going to trace these out, and then I'll cut them out and come right back. Okay, so now I've cut out all of my butterflies, and I've cut out 6 of them out of my tissue paper. And I'm just going to glue them down the center so that the outside can be fluffed like this. Now I prefer to use a dry adhesive for the center sections of the butterfly, and then I can use wet adhesive like glue for the stiffer pieces that need to be on top. But for the center sections, if you use a wet adhesive in the center, it tends to make them get a little bit muddy and very paper mache kind of feeling stiff when it dries. So I just found it's better to use the tape roller. Or you could use those little adhesive dots, that would work too. Oops. There we go. just lining them up as closely as possible. Now this Elmer's roller uses a blue adhesive that you can see through this very thin tissue paper. So that is why I am using layering pieces on top of it, is to kind of cover up that little bit of blue adhesive. So I'm going to use this punch from some packaging, and I do this a lot. I have an iris container full of punch shapes from my scraps, and this is how I use up my scraps. I just find this a more effective way to use them than keeping large pieces, because I just won't use them, and it keeps them from piling up. So that is an idea for you. And now that I've hit my cardstock pieces, I want to use some adhesive in my fine line bottle, and this is just the Scotch tacky glue. And center it on there the best I can. There we go. And you just want to glue the center, because again you want to be able to fold up the wings a little bit. And I always kind of pre-fold the areas that I want to be able to have moving. Okay. Alright, so there's that. And then I'm going to use some, I think for this one I'm going to use some rhinestone style pearls. I just use a, probably I guess it would be considered a medium sized one, it's not very large, for the head, and then the slightly smaller ones for the body. Now I have not needed to glue these down. These ones are pretty adhesive, so they're doing pretty good at staying on the butterfly. But you may need to glue down your rhinestones or pearls depending on the brand that you use. There we go. And I use 3 of these smaller sized pearls for the body, and I feel like that just makes it look a tiny bit more cohesive because it overlaps both the cut pieces and the tissue paper. So then I'll just pop up the wings a little bit here and fluff up the tissue paper. And I don't really feel like it's necessary to bend up the tissue paper too much, but if you like that look, you could absolutely crumple it up some. And there you have a butterfly. Well, thanks for joining me, and I hope this inspired you to try something new with your tissue paper. This tissue paper here and here came from my Felicity Jane kit. And some of the other tissue papers have come from scrapbook.com orders or different things, packages that I've gotten from scrapbooking sites. And I think it's a great way to use a packaging. If you're not going to throw it into a present, you might as well use it in your embellishments. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you give this a try. Bye!